Good evening, New Orleans, and welcome to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we'll talk Saints, LSU, Tulane, and Prep. We'll also be taking your calls. And, of course, we've got a great blockbuster show to start off. Two esteemed guests, two legends in New Orleans sports. Of course, we're talking about Mr. Ro Brown and Mr. Brian Ali Walsh. Ro Brown, of course, WBOK sports director, also the voice of the UNO Privateers, and also doing prep stuff on WGSO, the original Prep Roundup. Of course, Brian Ali Walsh, longtime Times-Picayune sports writer, now with The Advocate, also SportsNola.com, as well as USA Today Sports Weekly and WHNO TV. Guys, welcome. It is absolutely my pleasure to have you with us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us, Eric.
Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, it's nice of you to have us on your first show. And you're going to do great, my friend.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming down. And
with the two of us on it, you can only go up, okay? You know?
That's right. We've ruined good shows, too.
Well, guys, first of all, again, Ro, tell us first of all a little bit about, obviously I mentioned some of the things you're involved with. Talk a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Well, I work at the University of New Orleans, that's the Penn, see the Penn, UNO, the heartbeat of the Crescent City,
No doubt.
That work in marketing and PR and play-by-play, the basketball games, voice of the UNO Privateers. Do some stuff at WBOK, that I do just because I want to do it, because I like doing it, and I think it's an important station, and doing some sports stuff there. Do a sports show on Fridays. And, of course, I work out Ken Trahan's original Prep Football Report, high school sports. I probably like high school sports better more than any other sport.
And the show would
quite
be okay.
frankly.
The show would be okay on Fridays is what time?
Sport Facts. At noon, from noon to 1.
Noon to 1.
We just talk about just anything, to tell you the truth.
Sounds great. Brian, of course, SportsNola.com, also with The Advocate, and really a great publication, USA Today, Sports Weekly.
Sports Weekly.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's a brand new venture, and I'm in charge of the NFC South, of which the Saints are a member, and corresponded for those 4 teams in the South. But can I brag on this guy for just one second? You've mentioned all of the entities he's with, but he is a voice of reason in our sports community.
Yes.
In many, many facets. And I'm not trying to blow smoke. He really is. I sit on a couple of boards with him, selection committees, and he always brings a good voice of reason.
We're right back at you,
Nice
Brian.
of you. Thank you. Yeah.
I mean that. And you as well. Anyway, it's nice to be here.
Well, great to have you guys. Of course, SportsNola.com, I'm going to tell you right now, I think the fastest growing website that we have in the city when it comes to sports. Tell them about it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, and Kenny Trahan does such a great job. He had a vision along with the NewOrleans.com people, and he's brought it to fruition and gotten the great support of WHNO and Dean Powery, and it's a forerunner for an element around the country, and Ken's done a great job of getting it off the ground and sustaining it, and that's the hard part.
Well, you're doing TV as well, and you got quite a group that you're doing television with.
Yes, it is. Torrance Small and Ricky Jackson, and they're both great guys.
Yeah.
Yes,
both great guys.
Yeah, T is a really good guy, Torrance. A
Yeah.
lot of people. He had a career here, and people know who he is. But when Torrance was a player, he was kind of quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's come out of his
good
shell.
guy.
Right?
Yeah,
He
he was a
shell.
lot quieter when he was a player. And I think he does a good job. And Ricky is
Ricky is
just one of the best football players we've ever seen. Quite frankly.
and tells it like it is.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
beautiful
In his
thing
own
about
way.
Ricky. He really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
He tells it like it is. Guys, obviously, a lot of people have been waiting, if you're a Saints fan, for what's going to happen on Sunday. You pick an opener. Could you pick a better opener than the Falcons in the Dome to kind of kick it off, really the next year of Sean Payton? And just, I guess, overall, let's talk first of all about the youth movement that's going on here. Brian, you and I have talked on the radio show, and I think a lot of people that have watched this team over the last year or so have seen a defense that's gotten kind of old, maybe not as athletic as they should be, lacks speed. And there really was a need for an infusion of young players on this team. I'm a little surprised that Sean Payton has gone in this direction, honestly, because he's a guy that likes veteran players, that wants veteran players that he can trust, that are not going to make a lot of mistakes. They're very disciplined for the most part. And again, unforced errors are a no-no when it comes to the Saints. But yet they've got this youth movement going on. If you would, guys, your thoughts on this team as they move into this 2013 campaign, especially with so many young players.
Go ahead.
No,
Are you on me, lady?
Well, you go.
It had to come didn't think it was going to happen as swiftly as it has happened. A lot of that was forced by injuries,
Right.
as you guys know,
Right.
and that has forced them to go in this direction, Eric. And look, if anybody knows how they're going to play on Sunday, then they're the only ones. Because I'll tell you what, you know, Martez Wilson and Junior Gillette are guys that are probably going to play a lot Sunday, and they haven't played this preseason. They haven't played in this scheme, and I don't care how good you are. Paris Harrelson hasn't played under Rob Ryan before, so all these uncertainties. Again, Ro, I don't know. I have no idea how this defense is going to look
New
on Sunday.
people, John Jenkins, in
Yeah.
the middle, you know, I mean, it's, you know, Bunkley, of course, will get to start. But, yeah, I'm not that surprised because I think that Sean Payton looked, you know, the couch for 16 Sundays and saw how bad it was defensively and probably figured that, you know, well, we probably need to make some changes. I should make some changes, and that means new people coming in. I'm intrigued by it, however, Eric, because, you know, say what you will about the Saints, they've done a pretty good job of finding young people and plugging them in, and they turn out to be pretty good players. I'm not saying that that's definitely going to happen Sunday. I don't know, like Brian says. But, you know, so I'm kind of intrigued to see it because they've had a lot of hits
Yeah,
in
a
situations
lot of hits.
like this. You
Yes,
know,
they
people who were not drafted high, people that, you know, you didn't really consider, you know, that great.
Well, better
And
when it
then
comes to
they come in.
undrafted free agents
Yeah.
in a lot of cases on the defensive side of the ball than they've done really in drafting. You know, you look at
Very much so.
last
Good
year
point.
and beyond. In a lot of cases, they were in a situation where they drafted high. They were trying to build this defense because they already had a prolific offense. Unfortunately, none of those guys really hit, weren't the players they thought they would be. All of a sudden, you're in a situation where high salaries, these guys are not living up to those salaries. You have some guys that really contributed to the Saints Super Bowl victory, but yet those guys were getting a little bit long in the tooth, and you were having to put out big money for them. Ultimately, it was needed and necessary. The question is, how disciplined will these guys be going into the season? And then when you're looking at a very, very complicated Rob Ryan defense, how quickly can they take it from the classroom to the playing field?
Well, I think a couple things come into play. It's going to be dumbed down, if you ask me, okay? That's not a negative. They're going to find things that they do well. They know what they can do well now, and they're going to keep it simple, I think. The complexities will happen as the season progresses. Economics plays a big role in this building of the team, if you ask me. They were hamstrung when they came into the offseason, and that being hamstrung continues now. You know, they have not been. I thought that they would still go to the waiver wire and try and pick up more veteran help on defense.
I
That
agree.
surprises me
yes.
that they didn't do that. That said, they did get Paris Harrelson, who's a very economically feasible salary to bring on board. It's like $1 million and some change.
And had a pretty good career at Frisco
Oh,
before
listen,
the youth movement there.
if he comes back and plays like he did in 08, 09, they got a player. But a lot of those younger guys are making bare bones salaries right
Yes.
now. And they weren't able to go out and get that marquee free agent on defense. They got second-tier guys, good players,
Yeah,
but
and-
second-tier guys.
And here's another reason why you may be exactly right, Brian, when you talk about the economics of the situation really having something to do with this. How cheaply did they get Robert Meacham back?
Yeah.
No, well, there's no doubt.
You know, I mean, that has to. I mean, I know Sean Payton likes Robert Meacham, and I know, you know, Drew Brees does. You know, they like him. They like what he brought. But, you know, they got him back for virtually nothing.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
$700,000.
Yeah, I know.
You know, but that's an
Remember
example
now he's
of,
getting
yeah.
a bunch of money
Oh,
from
yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Million still.
But you know what? The oddity about this team is not lost on you guys, I know. Until they got Meacham, the three backups had not caught an NFL pass. The three outside linebackers on the roster, including Harrelson.
Right.
Now, Paris played in preseason in San Francisco, but Junior, Martez, and Paris have not played a down of exhibition football under Rob Ryan.
Yeah.
True.
You know, that's unusual, to say the very least.
It is.
The three reserves, offensive line, they're babies.
Yes.
Okay? They've got one start among them. So this is a very unusual team, I think, they're bringing into the regular season.
No, I would definitely agree with you. And when you start looking at where they are, especially look at the outside linebacker position, I would agree with both of you guys. That's the more shocking thing to me, that they didn't go out and try to get some type of a veteran to come in outside of what they have. Now, I do believe that they may utilize Roman Harper some at that outside linebacker
well they
position.
should.
Yeah.
Run support,
Yeah.
being able to rush the passer.
Which is what
that
he
may
does
be
best
part
anyway.
of what their thought process is there going forward at that outside linebacker position, at least early in the season right now, as they kind of still get their sea legs.
I agree. And Kenny Vaccaro, watch, he's going to play.
Yes.
You know, they're
That's
going to
what I
bring
was
him
gonna
a
say.
lot.
He's
I
going to
think,
be
you know?
up on the line a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. So
Well, and
Yes, sir.
especially not just that, really taking on that tight end. They've not had someone that can cover the tight end in ages.
Right.
Right.
And one thing he's been able to proven to do is to be able to cover the tight end, to be able to get in coverage and be able to play man to man. So we'll see how this is a big matchup.
I was
for
going
him.
to say this. Like you use the word intriguing,
Yeah.
it will be. Will,
Yeah, it is.
You know?
I'm really anxious to see how,
Yeah.
how. I really hope it works out. It could be a disaster, okay? But I mean, I'm really interested in seeing how it works out, especially against this team.
Right. Prognosticators are all over the map. I mean, I've seen 6-10. I've seen 10-6.
Right.
I've seen finishing third in the division. I've seen them winning the division. So no one's really got a real peg on a pulse on
and
the team.
it's so much is unknown because of the defensive side of the football.
Right.
Exactly.
You know,
Absolutely.
and,
You don't
and that's
know
the
what's
you
gonna
really
happen.
don't.
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to do what, and you really don't.
You know, the only certainty is number 9. Really,
Agreed.
The only real certainty, and there's a reason for that. But the offense, even with the new guys that they've brought in, I like Ben Watson. I like having
that
come
was
in.
good. Yeah.
I think he's one of the biggest additions on offense.
And kind of underrated.
Yes,
under
very
the
much
radar.
so. Under the
Very much
radar.
so.
Under the radar.
Also, I think it's interesting that we're not talking about Charles Brown anymore.
Yes.
As
Right.
a question.
Well, at
Remember
least not
how,
right now.
how that was a
Yeah.
big but I mean,
Right.
you know, but I thought we would hear more about that story during preseason.
Well, he's got a big test
You
this
know,
week.
yeah.
We'll have
Yeah.
he will have a big test every
week.
Yeah.
Like Bushrod
No,
did.
no
They all
doubt.
did.
But
Like
look,
Vermont.
we know that ultimately they have a scheme in which they can utilize backs and tight ends to ultimately come in and to be able to chip and help if necessary.
Right.
And I'm sure they're prepared to do that. But you're right. Nobody's talked about Charles Brown, but we haven't. The bullets are not flying for Weir right now there, and I think that's one of the deals.
Yeah.
Any real surprises when you looked at the final 53 that really stuck out to you guys?
all those running backs,
The 5 running backs.
all the running backs, for me. I was
Is that
kinda
because
surprised about
they
that.
couldn't afford to put Robinson on the street, do you think? But because he had such a great
I'm not
preseason?
sure why, but I was surprised they kept all of those people.
But you know what? I think that this is still a residual effect from the season that when they went to Seattle and lost in the playoffs there, and they were having
Yeah.
Eric and Rowe and Brian run the ball late in
Right.
the season.
No doubt.
Remember that?
Oh, no.
I mean, they had everybody that could
They
run
gave
a
me a
football.
call.
I know.
I was injured.
I mean, it was incredible. So, and I tell you what, look at what they've done. They have kept 4 to 5 running backs,
Right. Yeah.
okay,
No, they have.
and a
Yeah.
fullback. And so I think that Sean Payton, because he's so offensive minded, it's important for him to have those guys.
This won't happen again, kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Can they win on defense without being? I think it's going to be deja vu all over again. I really believe it's going to be
09?
much like Greg Williams. They're going to try to master deficiencies, and they're going to try to use exotic blitzes to try to do that. Do you guys think that we'll see some of the same? Now again, you got to temper that because you got a very young team on defense now. But is that the formula for success for the Saints?
I think so. I think, I think we could see something like that. You know, just let it rip and hope you can come up with turnovers like Sharper came up with and score off of it.
You know, that's the one thing that, from a roster standpoint, I think you kind of hit on the running backs, the young wide receivers. Okay, that was, and I think the young reserve offensive linemen too.
Yeah.
Defense, you didn't know. You know, they had to go in that direction.
They didn't have
really,
a choice.
Yeah.
You're going to
There
keep
was
Jim
nothing else you
Leonard
could do.
and Chris Carr. Yeah, you can, but does that make you better?
Well,
but
and
you
salary-wise as well. You guys mentioned it before. This team has been up against the cap
Yeah.
every year, and then you sign Breeze at that time, the richest contract in NFL history. Something's got to give, so you got to get younger. You
don't
might as well
forget,
do it now.
They got to find a way to keep Jimmy Graham. They're going to have to pay Jimmy Graham,
agreed.
and they're setting the stage for that. But you know, from the roster standpoint, is that when you got guys like the 5 running backs, the young wide receivers, there's a lot of questions on the defensive side of the ball, up and down the lineup. You know,
Lots of questions.
it's just that there's reason why people don't have a good feel for this team yet.
Sure, no doubt about it. Sean Payton, away from the game for a year. We've seen him a little bit in preseason. You guys have been out at camp each and every day, obviously covering the team. Talk about his temperament. How much do you think he's maybe grown as a coach? What do you think he's learned from this season away from football?
I think what he got out of it was, first of all, I think it's like anybody else. If you do something for a long time and you really enjoy it and it's taken away from you, you start to appreciate it a little bit more. Now, I don't know how much he's changed. I do think that he appreciates his job more, but I don't think that it's really changed him as a coach, as a person. From listening to some of the players, I mean, some of these guys are saying, man, he came in, really just kind of like a wow man sort of thing, wow, he made us do this, made us do that. And, they weren't complaining about it, but they were, it was kind of a bit of admiration saying, this tells me that I really need to, get it in gear and get it moving. So I don't think he's changed. I really don't. I think he missed the game. I think he missed his job. And
he missed the people.
And he missed, the people.
As much as anything, I think,
exactly.
That's the one thing I think that has shown through from the day he came back to now. There's a difference in a physical look about him for sure. But, he's very close to the vest when it comes to telling people what he's all about.
Yes.
I thought one of the more telling quotes that he had this offseason, preseason, was I think he made it to a person on Fox, a female reporter who did an interview with him and gave him, there's two things about you. One, your motivation and your anger, or something along those lines. And for the first time, he said that, you know what, he's still a little angry by how he was treated, fairly or unfairly, depending on whom you talk to. But there's no doubt that chip is big on his shoulder.
Right.
And I think he's done a really good job of concealing that part of it, don't you?
Hiding it.
Yeah, very much so.
You know it's there.
You'll read about it in a book one day, but I don't know if he's going to reveal it yet.
You know it's there. You know that he's kind of angry about what happened. You can just feel it. You just know it is.
Right.
I mean, and
Human nature,
Brian's
right,
right.
though?
He doesn't.
Yeah, it is human nature.
Yeah, I guess
And look,
if you feel you've been wrong,
Right.
yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
and
Yes.
again, I'm not taking sides here. I've been outspoken against him, and I'm not going to dredge that up again.
Right.
But his feeling is that the one thing he'll take responsibility for and has is that he should have done a better job of overseeing
Greg
his
Williams.
department.
And it probably will
And
never
that
happen
ultimately-
again, right? Do you think that will never be given, no one will be given the type of control that supposedly Greg Williams had?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he gave Greg Williams that much leeway.
Well,
if they think
yeah,
that's the
certainly. I
problem.
mean, he enabled it. Okay, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's
504-866-3200, 504-866-3200 if you'd like to join the conversation. Ro Brown, WBOK Sports Director, voice of the UNO Privateers. And, of course, Brian Ali Walsh of SportsNola.com, WHNO TV, and USA Today Sports Weekly. Guys, how good can this team be this year?
I think they're a 10-win team. But, Eric, I got to be honest with you. I thought that they were an 11-win team last year, even under the circumstances. So that goes to show what I know.
You did?
I did. I really did. I thought that they were still going to be able to overcome all the negative things and that mountain of adversity, the 8-ball that they'd been put behind. I really did. I thought that they were going to be able to overcome all of that, and I was wrong.
And I did as well.
I was wrong, and I understand why I'm wrong. Okay, I do understand. I just thought that they'd be able to do
Well, it
it.
was a veteran team, and they still had the same leaders. They didn't have the coach, but they had the same, obviously, coaching staff for the most part. And I think a lot of us thought that they would just pick up where they left off.
And I'll say this, and I want to defend Steve Spagnuolo here. Okay, I know he's been made a scapegoat. He's a good football coach. Okay, and we were not able to see that here. For all of the conditions and extenuating circumstances that we've addressed and everybody knows about. But had Sean Payton been here, and had Steve Spagnuolo run the defense like he did for all of the year, they would have addressed it. They would have perhaps made the pieces fit better, okay? It was Aaron Cromer and Joe. It was Aaron Cromer and Joe Vitt, and it was just an abomination.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it was the substitute teacher was in charge.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the biggest problem.
How good can this team be? I don't know, but I don't see any more than maybe winning 9.
9.
At most.
At most.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
I don't see winning any more than 9 because I just don't know about the defensive side of the ball.
So you have them
just don't.
sneaking into the playoffs as a wild card.
They might
Yeah.
make
And
it.
they could be.
I mean, I don't see them winning the opening game. I mean, I just kind of see, it high scoring, but the Falcons win because they got what they've had already with Steven Jackson
All right, I
with
take
them.
exception with
I don't think they're going to win the
that.
first one, but I think they're going to win about 9 because I just don't know about the defense.
I think just the
I just
opposite
know.
when it comes to this game, Ro.
You think they're gonna
I
win this?
really do. I think the Falcons.
You think it's Falcons in first game of the year?
And I'm not saying that this
and all that good
it doesn't mirror what happened in 06 with the return at the Dome. Okay,
Sure.
it falls way short, but there's so many things that are part of the landscape here. Peyton's first game back. This is his first game back on the sideline. The Falcons and Who Dat Nation. It's going to be just as wild in a different way as it was it's going to be a playoff atmosphere first game, and I'm not that impressed with the Falcons defense.
I agree.
Okay,
I agree with
now,
that.
I think there's if they let Ryan get off the schneid early and let him dictate, it could be
Are you more impressed with the Saints defense than the Falcons defense?
Well, the X factor is the Saints defense. The Falcons defense is certainly a more experienced defense, but I still like number 9 over number 2.
Yes.
Okay. In any element, I like number 9.
I like number 9 over number 2, but Steven Jackson may tip him over. Is what I'm saying.
That's exactly
I like
right.
number
You're
9
You're
over
right.
number 2 every day.
Bro, they're going to pound Steven Jackson up the middle, and they're going to say, you know what, New Orleans, stop us.
Well, we will see.
And the bottom line is, we know that again, ultimately, they're going to have to play Atlanta straight up.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to put a lot of guys in the box. They're going to have to play them straight up, and they have to prove they can stop the run. And I think that was Atlanta's mindset going into the season. They want a guy that can come in and run the football because, again, with the type of weapons they have, you can't do anything to be able to again try to load up the box because then they're going to hit you with obviously the pass.
Right.
No doubt.
If I'm not mistaken, if this kind of thing matters to you, I think it's been 6 times the Saints and the Falcons have opened the season or whatever. 4 or 5 of those times have been here. It's Falcons 6, Saints 0. And I realize that it's been a while.
Yeah,
Okay,
86.
it's been a while.
First
I understand that, but a couple of those games, were
62-7.
Where remember the Alfred Jackson thing?
Yes.
Everybody was hyped up then, and beat them at the last second. I mean, and the place was electric that day too.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you feel better about the middle of their defense with David Hawthorne in the middle than if it were Jonathan Vilma?
Good question.
Well,
I know how I feel.
You feel better with Hawthorne?
Absolutely.
At this point. At this point.
Absolutely.
No doubt. At this point.
I mean, even before, okay?
and
Ramon Humber showed he can play.
Right. Time waits for no one.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is
when he came back last year,
you could see it.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, and we're going to go to the phone lines in a moment because Herman's hanging in there. We want to bring Herman on. But I think that they've got the best of both worlds now.
Yeah.
They've kept Smith. They've kept Vilma. They're still going to be on the sideline. They're still going to be leaders on this team. But they've had to go with the youth and athleticism.
Right.
And yes, I agree. I think Hawthorne is a much better fit right now than Vilma. Let's head to the phone lines. Herman is with us. He called us at 504-866-3200. Herman is in Mid-City. Herman, welcome to Inside New Orleans Sports.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Your question?
Okay, my question is about Jimmy Graham. Do you think they should give him this contract right now because if he gets to be a free agent, they may lose him to some of these top-tier teams?
Who did he say?
Jimmy
Graham.
Jimmy Graham. Oh, okay.
Thank you for the phone call, Herman. Go ahead, Ro. You first.
They got to take care of Jimmy Graham somehow, somewhere. Okay.
Is it now, though?
He has
or
to
is it
be
before
here.
the season ends?
I don't know.
Now, he's a restricted free agent.
Yeah.
So he's going to be the Saints' property.
I really don't know about timetable, but it needs to be done. I mean, that goes without saying. I mean, that's just,
he will not get away.
Yeah,
okay?
I can't see him going anywhere.
Right.
I can't see them letting that happen.
The one thing that I applaud this organization for the most part, and it depends on how you sense the core players, how big that core is.
They've kept the
was
core pretty intact.
Jermon Bushrod a core?
Yes.
Was Carl Nix a core? Okay. Now these guys have escaped. Scott Fujita, was he part of the core? Those guys were able to get away. But Jimmy Graham is not going anywhere. They're going to put the franchise tag on him at the very least.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not going anywhere.
There were
do
timing
everything they
issues
can.
with Knicks. I mean, Knicks and with
look,
Breeze.
yeah.
Bushrod, they felt like, ultimately what the asking price was, they would be able to fit someone in.
Right.
And if Charles Brown was ever going to emerge, it had to be this year. There is no other Jimmy Graham on this team.
Right.
They had Jari Evans. So again, I agree. I think they're going to do it probably before the season's up.
See, I don't.
But ultimately, look.
Why don't you?
Because they never have. Give me an
true.
example of them.
Well, that's true. They've always.
Mickey Loomis,
they've
whether
never
you
done it
like how he
during
does
the
business
season.
or not, he does it the right way. You signed a contract with me, Eric. You're going to honor
Right.
it, and I'll take care of you at the appropriate time. They have no money right now.
Yeah. I was
Okay.
gonna say, I
Drew
don't know if
Brees
they
was
can
going to.
anyway.
He's going to have to give money back in order for them to do this. In my opinion.
I don't disagree with that. There's, especially the back end of that contract,
Yeah.
you better believe it.
Yeah.
But on the back end of the contract, in contrast, think about what the back end of that contract is going to be and look at what the quarterbacks are already getting now.
Right.
Okay, so that might be a bargain by the time you get to the back end of his contract.
Right.
There's no doubt about it.
That's true.
Before we wrap up, we got about a minute before we go to break. Saints, Falcons, Sunday. Guys, who do you like and why?
Well, I've already said, I think the Falcons are going to win Sunday. I just do. I have that feeling they're going to win Sunday. It's going to be a lot of points. It's going to be high scoring. And I just think that with the, acquisition of Steven Jackson, I think it's going to put him over the hump.
And they're going to use him, and
they're going to use him.
They're going to use him in the right way too. He's not going to get the 25 carries kind of guy. He's going to get the tough yards at a pro. And people
and-
overlook.
and-
yeah,
and down the stretch.
People overlook.
Yeah,
This guy can catch the
Oh,
football.
yeah. Underrated as a receiver on the
Absolutely.
backfield.
That's I like the Saints. It's a 3-point game. I like the Saints to cover. And it's a 54-point over/under type thing.
You can get down on the game or something? What is this?
I'll take your money.
What is it?
But I like the
I don't even
Saints.
know what
I do.
that
I like the
means.
Saints.
Is Buddy D here?
I like the Saints.
I don't know what that means.
Well, now that I'm no longer with
You
the
got a red
newspaper,
phone?
I can talk about those.
You got a
guys.
red phone on this desk?
So you do like the Saints.
I do. I like the Saints.
And I do as well. I think
I
the
just
return
think-
of Sean Payton, the crowd,
Just the-
the
yeah,
atmosphere, and look, it's going to come down to it. Look, bottom line is the offense will perform, but defensively, can you not stop? Can you slow the Falcons down?
No.
And I think that's what the key of the game is.
And if they can, they'll win.
Yeah, they will.
If they do,
I like roasted Falcons.
Great commercial, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's
no,
really
no doubt about that. Now, look, I tell you what, it is when you look at especially the first part of the season, you're coming out the box against 2 division games. It can and you don't want to say it can make or break your season, but
But
I
if
tell
you win those, you're in pretty good
you're in good shape.
How about week 2? San Francisco and Seattle play in week 2. I love what they've done.
Right.
They've started it and they've ended it with divisional games.
Right.
I love the way
Yeah,
they've done it.
and really on purpose.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
I mean, this is by
No doubt
design.
about it.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
I love it. I love it.
How much with about, I guess, a minute or so, how much does the dome mean for this team on Sunday?
I think the dome always means something. I do. I mean, I just think it's, I think it's a great place. I mean, I really do. I know people talk about, playing indoors and it doesn't have the same kind of feel. There's just something about that place,
Right.
But I mean, we've all been in situations before where the dome was jacked up and, they
Matt
didn't
Ryan
win.
said it was the loudest
You know.
stadium he's ever played in.
I think it's terrific. I mean, it is. I mean, and I think the players really talk about it.
Yes.
It's something the players really know it and they really feel it. You can tangibly see a connection between that building
Right.
and what's going on in there and those players.
And Brian, the fan base has become much more educated, haven't they?
Oh, I think so. I mean, just with the internet, I mean, readers have become much more educated. You can't pull a wool over some of these people anymore. They know. But I agree
But
with
they know
you
when
guys.
to cheer, when not to cheer.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
I
know,
can remember
it's-
back in the days of Ricky Jackson orchestrating that
Yeah.
that dome crowd.
Right.
They know now. They know they truly are the 12th man and can make a difference.
And I'm not, there is that special connection with the fan base and the team. Not that there's not that kind of connection elsewhere around the league, but really, if you've been to those games, the championship game here against Minnesota, the game of the return to the dome after
Yes.
Katrina, those were magical times. That it's just difficult to.
I think the best I've ever heard was Super Bowl Sunday, Super Bowl 44.
Yeah.
Mike Ditka on television that morning, and he explained to the people, he said, you guys don't understand, this isn't their team. these are their boys.
Yes.
Okay, he said,
So
you guys,
true.
it's different. He said, you don't
Yeah.
understand. This isn't just their team. These are their boys.
No doubt.
Okay.
Yeah. We take a break. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Got a great panel for you tonight. Ro Brown, Sports Director, WBOK Radio, and the voice of the UNO Privateers. And, of course, Brian Ellie Walsh of The Advocate and, of course, SportsNola.com, as well as USA Today Sports Weekly. We take a break. We'll come right back. We'll switch gears and talk a little college football coming up next.
Reggie. Just recently, my wife and I took in her sister's children. Now, we already had 4, so I went from becoming a family man to a man with a bigger family. Now, you can't eat love, so I don't know how I'm gonna feed them tonight. How was that, Rich?
I think I look more like Denzel.
That's cold, man.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Viking.
Red state, blue state, vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Optimist.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live
our families,
united.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
You're watching WLAE, New Orleans Public Television. Find us on Cox Channel 14, Charter Channel 11 and 711, AT&T Channel 32 and 1032, Dish TV, DirecTV, and over-the-air broadcast on Channel 32.
You know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look. I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
Hi, we're Ola High, and you're watching WLAE TV.
In the search for beautiful people, music that moves, and real culture, America, there's only one LA Coast. Go Coast, Louisiana delivers the treasures of the Gulf fresh to you.
I think we need a bigger boat.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on LAE.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. We're on each and every Thursday night, 6 to 7 with a live broadcast and a rebroadcast on Friday nights, 10 to 11 p.m. Please be part of the program, and always you can join us. 504-866-3200. My guest, Ro Brown, WBOK Sports Director, and of course also Brian Ellie Walsh of SportsNola.com. Guys, let's shift gears and talk a little college football.
Okay.
LSU Tigers, a lot of naysayers thinking that LSU was going to have a down year because they've lost so many players to the pros. I guess the first question is, how true of a test do you think TCU was on Saturday night for this team?
It wasn't TCU 2 years ago, about 3 years
Yeah.
ago. It wasn't TCU that won the Rose Bowl, but it was still a pretty good team. It was still better than a lot of first week games around college football. So I thought it was a pretty good barometer that they did as well as they did against this TCU team. Like I said, it wasn't TCU that won the Rose Bowl or the undefeated team. And it wasn't quite that one, but it was plenty good enough for you to see that maybe this team will be better than people thought.
Yeah, the Gary Patterson defense over the last few years, like Ro alluded to, is that it's been a good one. It's been a top 5 type of defense. And I was interested to see how Cameron's influence was on the offense, and I liked what I saw. And he's brought that professional approach to the game.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that I'm sure we'll all agree on is that you still got to score touchdowns when you get in the red zone. You can't beat good teams with field goals, even though they did it a few years ago against Alabama. You know, but you can't do that on a regular
they're a
basis.
work in progress, though, because again, you've got some young players, and you kind of knew coming out the box it was going to take some time, much like we may see with the Saints defense, where they're going to have to get their sea legs, and you know, they're going to have to learn, you know, how to play under the lights, especially young players. But I'm telling you right now, offensively, that was a pleasant surprise, considering you guys know, been around a while. You've seen a lot of prep athletes come out of Louisiana. My God, the skill set of the athletes that we have kept coming out of Louisiana fit perfect in a type of offense that we saw at LSU.
Defense.
No doubt.
You know,
but it's about time. It's about time you see some of those athletes being utilized like we did on Saturday night against TCU.
You know, Ro, you
like
talk
the Saints. I was concerned about the defensive side of the ball in LSU. Not that they were going to be terrible. We know they weren't going to be terrible. But, you know, you talk about losing a lot of people.
Well,
they lost a lot of people,
stars.
you know, and you knew that these people were talented for the most part, but, you know, would they be able to step up and step in and play at that level? And, you know, it looks like they may be able to pull it off.
They have there's a nice heritage there. You know what I mean? I don't want to. They're a program that doesn't rebuild, they reload, and with the skilled people that you're talking about, they can do that in state in this area.
You know,
but I was look at the running backs that these guys can put on the field. Terrence McGee, my goodness. You know, and Jeremy Hill didn't even play. They got Kenny Hilliard, and Alfred Blue is a player. I mean, it's just uncanny.
Yeah, you know, it just, I don't know if what it is about, like you said, there's a heritage there, you know, and you can tell that, you know, they feel like, well, this one is gone, this one is going on to the NFL or graduated, you know. I feel like I can't, you know, end the link in the chain. I can't be the missing link. I got to keep this going. And you kind of get that feeling when you hear the guys, especially defensively, talk about this.
It is by design. They play young players. They get an opportunity to get on the field, and that's one of the reasons why when they lose 8 players, you have guys that are ready to come in, and at least they've had maybe not starting experience, but they've had experience.
But you know what, Eric? The thing about it is that people used to take me to task for this. You talk about like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I think that LSU I never thought it was an elite program until Nick Saban. Okay?
Agreed.
Yeah, it wasn't elite. You know, they thought, you know, fans thought it was elite.
I know exactly what
you know, I mean, they thought it was elite, but now it's an elite program.
We talked about that at the Picayune in the building for years, about name your top 10 programs. Now, provincially, people would, but yet you could shoot that down. They were not a top 10 program back in those years.
They were in that next rung of very good programs. They were in that next rung down. You know, we always had good football players here in Louisiana. And if they got most of them, they worked out all right. My dad used to have the best line. I can remember it was in the 70s. He said that he knew that LSU's football program was kind of on the downside when Chris Schenkel stopped having trouble pronouncing the last names in hometowns. He said he knew that something was up.
Well, you know, let me tell you, Saban has a lot to do with where this program is today.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that he pushed for the facilities they have now.
Absolutely.
They got them started, obviously, on getting the blue chippers. Les Miles ran into a great situation. And of course, he's built
on it. And to his credit, you know, it hasn't gone down.
No, not at all.
It really hasn't.
You know, we talk about it every year, and it'll probably happen this year where he'll make some boneheaded decision that'll maybe cost him a game, and there'll be the naysayers that'll come out. You know, there's still a lot of people that want him gone.
Every week, Brian.
And if you don't win the or contend for it, they're going to be up.
Well, the big problem
arms
is
again.
The guy that is leading the Crimson Tide right now, who will always be the albatross around his neck. I mean, that's there are some people that don't get over the fact that Nick Saban's at Alabama, and then you look at what he's been able to do in terms of recruiting Louisiana athletes, that adds a little bit of salt to the wound.
Right. And all he's done is win 85% of his games or some ungodly percentage.
He's the best college football coach out there. He is. It's just sad that.
All right, I got a question for you guys at the end of the half. Right at the end of the half, when that comedy of errors before, you know, at the end of the TCU first half. How many of you thought that he was wrong, that he blew it? Did you guys think that he blew it? before they explained
Before
what
they explained
happened.
it?
My initial thoughts were, here he goes again.
Initially, I thought,
here he goes
but
again.
I thought that they were, again, disorganized because, again, you're brand new season, some new players that are involved here, and was, especially, there's no preseason in college football. You got to get it together. So it was more about that than anything else. Of course, after everything was explained.
Well, the Big Ten officials blew it.
No doubt.
That's essentially what happened, But
we mentioned Cam Cameron. Zach Mettenberger. We saw flashes of what he could be against Alabama last year. Hopefully, we'll be able to see a lot more of that and a little bit more of what we saw against TCU. Your thoughts on bringing in a professional coach who's obviously coached some great quarterbacks and the influence he can have on Mettenberger?
Well, he would say it's because he was a former head coach at Indiana. That's why, that's what he will say.
And he did a good job there.
He did.
Yeah,
he did. I remember
job.
that. He did. It makes a difference, I think. I think it when you have someone, coaching a quarterback. I mean, quarterbacks have their own little personal coaches. And when somebody, obviously when the player and the coach connect, and you've got a coach who knows how to teach, who knows how to get through to someone, it just. I don't know if it's fair to say this, but it's hard for me to look at an offensive line coach as an offensive coordinator.
Right. Agreed.
I mean, nothing against. I mean, they're important people. Yeah, offensive line, but it just,
the first thing that struck me, guys,
something doesn't.
Was his footwork. The first thing, the first thing that I noticed in the game against TCU, a lot more comfortable with his footwork, and you saw that in his ability to complete passes. Some passes that he had to thread the needle on.
Some drops. It was a 50% completion percentage. You look at the numbers and you go, that's not all that good. But I'll tell you what, he displayed the pro arm that we know he's got. But what I liked more than anything else is I thought that they dictated on offense under Cam Cameron, because it's his play selection. They threw when they wanted to throw and not when they had to throw. And then secondly, that does belie confidence in your quarterback, that you can make those throws, and he did. And I'll tell you what, if they get a tight end healthy, that's going to open up that red zone offense a heck of a lot more than it did. But they got Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, those guys are big time receivers.
And they caught the football consistently on Saturday.
Yeah, with any athlete, as you said, Eric, it's all about feet.
Agreed.
If you watch an athlete's feet, it's. I mean, I do that a lot. It's not like it's a foot fetish or something. But if you want to look at how good an athlete is,
I'm glad you brought that up.
I mean, my prime example was, I used to love to watch William Roaf move.
Oh yeah.
I used to, it's just,
You're right.
And once again, with Mettenberger, it was feet.
You could say, and look,
his feet,
confidence. You could say, again, follow through. Everything he didn't do last year consistently, he was doing. And you're talking about a short window with Cam Cameron now. Imagine what this guy can do with the quarterbacks behind Mettenberger if he gets 2, 3, 4 years with these guys. That was, I think that was one of the big changes that I saw there. Tell you what, let's head to the phone lines. 504-866-3200. Let's head to Kenner, Louisiana, and Hector. Hector, welcome. You're on Inside New Orleans Sports.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much for taking the call. And a greeting to my good friends, Ro Brown and Brian Ali Walsh, Hector Pineda. We did the Saints in Spanish with him, and for 15 years after retired after the Super Bowl. But anyway, much like the SEC West counterpart, Alabama, LSU's success on the football field has relied heavily on its defense. And, of course, part of this is the name John Chavis. I just basically would like to hear Ro and Brian talk about John. Since joining the staff in 2009, LSU has finished in the top 15 in total defense 3 of the 4 seasons, and last year in 8th place in 2012-2013. Thank you for taking my call, and good evening to those fine, outstanding gentlemen in sports in the city of New Orleans.
No doubt about that, Hector, and thank you for the phone call. Guys?
Good to hear from you, Hector.
Yeah, very much.
Obviously, John Chavis knows what he's doing. I mean, he did it at Tennessee, and obviously he came here. And I always felt that when Les Miles hired him, he was probably like a kid in a candy store, knowing that he was going to have talent. that he could, that he could work.
There's a
that
trust
he could
factor
mold,
there
that
too,
he could
Ro.
do something with.
He
I mean,
trusts the chief.
Yeah, because they really had terrific defenses at Tennessee when he was there.
And it speaks to the, they wanted him back at Tennessee, and he's had opportunities to go elsewhere. You're right, and you know what? You look at John Chavis, you look at Cam Cameron. I think, to flip the side just for a second, I think Les and Cam have that relationship as well, and it means so much that when you trust an aspect of your team to a guy, implicitly, and that's the way it is, I think, right now. But Chavis is arguably one of the best defensive coordinators in college football.
No doubt about it. And he's got complete autonomy. Now, think about it. Now, if Miles ultimately trusts Cam Cameron the same way that he trusts the chief, you got something there.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, he's never really trusted his offensive coordinator.
Absolutely.
But yet he's stayed away from the chief and allowed him to do what he's done. And look at it. I mean, top defenses really since he's been there.
If he does that, then he could be like Bear Bryant his last
That's
5
right.
years.
Just absolutely. Just be the CEO.
Sit
Yeah,
back.
Really. Let's talk the defense. I tell you what, one of the things that really impressed me with young defensive line. I mean, again, they do reload there, but my gosh, I mean, and again, that comes back to the great athletes we have here in Louisiana.
I had my doubts, Ego Ferguson, Anthony Johnson, you kind of expected that, but the ends.
Yeah,
Allen, he really, really impressed me. Allen really did. Jamario, they, those ends really impressed me.
You talked about how they do a good job of putting young players in. Anthony Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong, but he sat for a couple of years. He's washed but
he's played some,
but essentially this is his year. This is his year. And I'll tell you what, he's done a great job of learning. And when you have guys that go to the NFL, there is that, as you talked about, there's that legacy that you create that you don't want to let a Patrick Peterson down at cornerback or those kind of players, even the Honey Badger. I mean, the guy's he was a good football player. Okay, I mean, he's different, but you don't want to let those guys down because they have set the bar real high.
Yeah, there's something about Penn State linebackers, USC tailbacks. There is something to that.
Indiana,
I think you can.
Indiana.
Oh, come on. Be nice to the Hoosiers.
Gentlemen, how good can this LSU team be this year?
They could be really good. I mean, they could be really good. I had my doubts. I had my doubts going in, just as I did with the Saints. They answered more of my first game questions. Yes. They did. They answered my first game questions. Can they beat Bama? Yes, they can beat Bama if Bama's offensive line doesn't get it together. Yes, they can. Okay. And Bama's offensive line was really, for Alabama against Virginia Tech, not very good. Okay, and they're young and and I would love to have them because they're all big and they're all talented, and down the line, they're going to be just fine. Yes. But if they can't get it together, a bit better than they did against Virginia Tech, then LSU can win, Wes.
I like it. It's at home. It's in Tiger Stadium, so I like LSU being at home against Bama. But I don't.
No, they go there this year, right?
No.
Don't they?
I have to check.
Yeah, because the comeback was Tiger Stadium.
That's right. Sure.
That's right.
You're right. All
right. So I don't know.
But
but you didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question.
Okay.
How good? Are they a 10-win team?
Win the West.
They a BCS bowl team?
Win the West. It's is that 10? I mean, you're talking about a school that won a national title with 2 losses, and one of them was in November.
Yeah.
So how do we know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the last national championship. That's what they did.
You know what? I think
winning the West will usually, whether you like it or not, will get you in the picture.
Yeah.
Yes.
If their defense continues to play well, and it's a work in progress, we'll all admit to that. If they continue to progress, then they got a shot to play for a good BCS bowl. Certainly.
I think it really comes down again to the defense and how they're going to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think they've got great weapons right now on the offensive side of the ball. Back to the phone lines we go. Let's go to Evan in Jefferson. Evan, welcome. You're on Inside New Orleans Sports.
Well, hello, Mr. Eric. Congratulations on your new TV show.
Thank you, Evan.
You brought in the A-listers.
Oh.
Will Brown,
Legends.
Brian Alec Lowe. You can't get better than that for your first show, I tell you.
Thank you, Evan.
My question is about the 330-pound elephant in the room. Cam Robinson committing to Alabama. Now, I keep up with the recruiting guides and everything, and I just want to say, I think, and get your opinion on this. The sky's not falling. LSU's going to be fine. If you look at the 2015, the number one recruit in the nation, Kevin Tolliver, is already an LSU commit, and he's from Florida. So nowadays, some kids just want to leave the state. So I'll hang up and listen to see if y'all have any comment on that.
That's the kid from Westwood Road.
I'm glad you brought that up. You know, look, kids go where they want to go. For whatever reason, they do that. You know, LSU is in a position where they will get most of the best players in the state of Louisiana, no matter what. Okay, and so Cam Robinson decides to go to Alabama. You know how we're talking about this legacy of at a position and all? If I'm an offensive lineman right now, I'm not so sure I wouldn't go to Alabama. The way they're turning out offensive linemen who were drafted in the first round. You know, so, I mean, it's okay. I mean, like you said, no, the sky isn't falling. They'll still do very well. They'll probably still get all these skill position people who are here in the New Orleans area, the Leonard Fournettes, the Speedy Noyles. You know, they'll probably get all these people, Malachi Dupree, and so they'll be fine. You know, they'll probably get all of those people, and if they don't get all of them, they're going to get the lion's share of them.
No doubt.
So they're all going to be in great shape, which kind of goes to the prep thing. This is the best year I've ever seen for high school recruiting. Yes. In the years that I've paid attention to this stuff, this is the best year I've ever seen. And it's not because Leonard Fournette is the number one. If there was no Leonard Fournette, I think it would still be the best year I've ever seen.
Is his brother a D1 player?
His brother?
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I told you that I knew that. His younger brother?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to answer that.
Guys, while we're talking a little about prep, let's switch to prep. We'll get to Tulane last. The new format. And we've heard so much about the new. Look at this. It's automatic, guys. I mean, it's automatic.
You know, we don't have enough time in the show to explain it.
It's hard. It's hard to explain.
Look, I told you where I stand on this. I don't understand it. I'm going to learn it as it goes along. I know it's 9 state champions. And everybody's going to play together, you know, select, non-select, and then you get to postseason, and they won't be playing together. It'll be split playoffs or whatever, and that's pretty much what I know about it.
Do you think it's good for the public schools? I mean, public versus private. I thought that was maybe a little shift here. Does it help public schools now?
Well, I guess if you got more state champions, and more people have a chance to win a state championship. If that's what they were looking to do, if that's what
I mean, is it like a 1 year where everybody gets a trophy?
This is a trial period, correct? It's a 1 year deal. That's the way I understand it. It's a 1 year deal. So they're going to revisit this.
Yeah.
It will not. I can't see it staying this for a second go round. Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But let's be honest. This is all about Evangel John Curtis.
Sure it is.
This is all about not just Evangel John Curtis, but this is also about public schools called non-select schools feeling like they're at a disadvantage because the select schools can do just what that word says. They can select.
Yes.
They can recruit.
They do.
They can recruit.
They can give scholarships.
Okay.
Yes,
they can do that, and it places them at a disadvantage. Some public school principals decided we're going to do something about it. We're going to split up. Okay, whether you think that's right, wrong, you can debate that. But that's why this has happened, and people need to realize that, that's why. I mean, they feel like they're at a disadvantage.
The problems that I had, there's twofold. One, I think it's a precursor of a split. I really do. They're either going to get it back together, or there's going to be two high school athletic associations in the state, much like in Texas. But the part that I don't like, is that. Many parts of it I don't like. One, in the top classification in the state of Louisiana.
What is it, 10 teams?
10 teams. They're all going to get in. They're all going to get in. And there's going to be 2 bye weeks for the top seeded teams. Okay, that's ridiculous. Secondly, is that all of a sudden you're playing the public schools. The public schools are playing the Catholic schools, private schools, select schools during the season, but and the money is flowing now. Everybody's taking advantage, and yet when it comes time to the playoffs, they're all separate. It's no good anymore. You know what? There's this playground mentality, in my opinion, where everybody has to get a medal.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Yes.
you know what? West Monroe. I didn't hear anybody complaining when they were a powerhouse up in North Louisiana. You know what? If you go out and compete against the John Curtises, whatever happened to old-fashioned hard work? Now, I know the baby schools can't compete with those, but the middle of the road, the ones that were competing 5 years ago, they can still compete.
Here's something that few people realize and few people remember. The most difficult time for district play for John Curtis, in my estimation, is when they were placed in the district with Orleans Parish Public Schools. Walker, Carver, Cohen, that was the most difficult district competition that Curtis had, because the people decided, well, we're in here with them now, so they just,
we better compete.
So they did. Now, but having said that, that's an example that says that, that it can be done.
Can you
but
do
there
a
are some
year in,
people
year
who
out?
can, maybe not. But I mean, there's some schools that I guess, maybe couldn't do that. I mean, people forget that Carver went to West Monroe and beat them 20-0 there. But no one seems to remember that.
You're going to have, and we're already hearing the scuttlebutt around the city, is you're having what were good rivalries that are going to come to an end, okay, because of feelings.
Right. It's the sad thing about this. Guys, we got about 2 minutes left. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Tulane. They get a big win the other night. How good do you think this team can be under C.J. Johnson this year?
This year?
Obviously, they got a schedule.
It certainly favors them.
Right.
And one preface it. I want C.J. to succeed. Okay. I want, for a lot of reasons, I want him to succeed. They're a 4-win team, probably. I see them that way, They're doing the right things. Anytime you can get 6 turnovers, like they did against Jackson State, anytime you run the ball nearly 50 times, which I like to see them doing with Darkwa, and they've got Nick Montana. Is he a world beater? No, he's not his daddy. But you know what? They can win 3-4 games, I think, this year, and maybe get lucky. And a lot of people think that they can compete.
I think they're going to win more. I think they're going to win more because I think the schedule is conducive to them winning more than 3 or 4. I could see them maybe winning 5 and maybe 6. I'm sure CJ probably thinks that
I'm sure he does. Yeah.
I've been a big CJ fan. 5 years ago I said that that's who they should have hired.
But the one thing that it's always going to work against them, at least right now, is when they start getting injuries, and they will come. Their depth shows, okay? And that's the biggest shortcoming in that program right now.
They were incrementally better just looking at them. They're a little faster. They broke the huddle, defensive huddle. The people looked a little bit bigger than last year, but it's going to be baby steps. And what I like about it is that when Tulane has local people, they usually do pretty well.
Yeah.
And they've been getting some pretty good local people. They really have.
You got it. Guys, first of all, thanks so much for being part of our first broadcast.
Thank you.
The hour has flown by. Thank you very much.
I asked him to bring a cake, but he didn't. He's too
There's
cheap.
no cake? I was looking for cake and ice cream.
He's always trying to put it on me.
We wish you good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us. It's really nice of you.
Thanks so much for tuning in as well. And remember, a rebroadcast of this program will be on Friday nights from 10 to 11. Also, you can catch me on the radio at WGSO 990 AM, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. weekdays, and online at ericasher.com. And also special thanks to the staff here at WLAE, the production staff that's done a fantastic job, Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, and my producer extraordinaire, William Hill. For Ro Brown, for Brian Ellie Walsh, my name is Eric Asher. New Orleans, have a great night, and we'll see you next week right here on WLAE TV for Inside New Orleans Sports.